Hi, this is Rachel, and I'm back for another book talk. So, today we're going to talk about two books that are intended for middle school. Okay, so one is called The Bone Garden, and it is by Heather Kassner. The other is called The Book Wanderers. And if you see at the top, it says Pages and Company. It is the first of a series. So far, there are three. And it is by Anna James. And it's originally published in England. And over there, it has a different name for the series title. And both of these books that I'm holding, these are the author's debut books. Both of them are fantasies, different kind of fantasies, as we'll discover. And I do believe that the interest, although they're intended for upper elementary, middle school, definitely middle school, I feel that they are wonderful reads and that anyone at any age above that will enjoy. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the standalone book, The Bone Garden. And as I mentioned, the author is Heather Kassner and the publisher is Henry Holt. There are some illustrations in here that are by Matt Saunders. And I do just want to show you how it helps to set the atmosphere of this book if you didn't get it from the cover and the title. Okay, so take a look at these lovely black and white drawings, and it really adds this lovely, creepy effect. And the Bone Garden, our main character here with the white hair, white, okay, that is accurate. Her name is Ariel. And I apologize because I don't speak French, but upon trying to learn how to say it, I discovered that Ariel means unreal. You're going to find out how that is interesting. So, Ariel was created. She is not human. She was created by a woman named Miss Vespers. Okay. Now, Miss Vespers is not a nice person. Okay. I'm just going to tell you that straight out, right up. You're going to figure it out. She treats her like less than an object, like something you don't even care about. And she uses her to procure bone dust. Now, bone dust is what Ariel is made from. That, and as Ms. Vesper says, a magical string that goes from Ariel to her. So, for example, if Ariel were to go too far, she'd feel a tug and she'd have to come back. So, every night, Ariel must go down, down, down underneath the house through a tunnel. And you see the house here? House is right next to, that's right, a cemetery, a graveyard. And she goes down underneath the graveyard where all the graves are. And then she must procure bones because Miss Vesper needs the bones and she grinds them into bone dust. And she uses that to not just create something like Ariel, but also to help keep herself alive. And she creates other things too, weird things. And one day she tells Ariel, you know, I don't need you. I can get rid of you just like that. And Ariel runs because she is afraid. Now, she can't really run. You have to understand, she wasn't put together right. Like one eye's one color, one eye's a different color because she's made up of parts. It's kind of like Frankenstein's monster. And I know I just kind of talked about that, right? But it's very, very similar. And she keeps hoping that Miss Vespers is going to make her better. And instead she abuses her. And she's horrible. And I feel like the relationship that is shown between that is something that is very human that we can relate to. But when she goes and escapes into the bone garden, she finds her predecessor because she's not the first and she won't be the last. Read, because there's also a mystery about who Miss Vespers is and what she is doing. The Bone Garden by Heather Kassner, illustrations by Matt Saunders. So the next book that I want to talk to you about is has to do with Tilly Pages. And the series is called Pages and Company. The first book in the series is called The Book Wanderers here in the U.S. And the author is Anna James. And I loved this book. I thought it's definitely like a book reader's book, okay? And you'll see why in just a moment. Well, first of all, her last name is Pages, okay? I love a good pun, so just bear with me. And the protagonist's name is Tilly. So here we go. Tilly's mom has disappeared. Okay, she disappeared when she was younger, and her mother's parents, her grandparents, have a bookstore. Oh, died and gone to heaven. And Tilly loves to read. Now, for those of you who don't like to read, you're like, oh, please. But if you love to read, you're like, yes. So holiday breaks are coming up. And by the way, this takes place in northern London. As I mentioned previously, this was first published in England, and so the author is British. So she is looking forward to having a long stretch of holiday with nothing but books to read. So she's thrilled. She likes to dive into some of her favorite classics like Alice in Wonderland and Anne of Green Gables and try new things too. And it's during this holiday that she discovers that she can read herself into a book. And that's when she meets Anne of Green Gables, but she can actually read characters out of a book. And suddenly she has Anne Shirley standing in front of her, talking to her. What? And she discovers that this is something that runs in her family. And so she's told by her family, don't be doing that. Yeah, dangerous. You kidding me? If I could do that? You think that Tilly's going to stop? No. And one thing leads to another, and suddenly she's like jumping in and out of books. Anne's in Alice in Wonderland having a tea party. Like suddenly everybody's in everybody else's books. But she can do things that other book wanderers, because she's not the only one, and neither is her family, she can do other things that other book wanderers can't. And I'll let you find out what that is. And her grandparents don't know why. And so that's part of the mystery that she's discovering, but then other weird things start to happen. This is a fantastic book, especially because you want to see, will she jump into one of your favorite books? And what exactly is it that's going on? And why is it that she can do the things that she can do? This is really the perfect book for those people who just love to read. Yes, it's very similar if you've ever read like Inkheart, but I would say like this is more like a lighter version of that, like before you get like really heavy and deep. That one's by Cornelia Funk. And this has illustrations in it as well. The illustrations, let me see if I can find one for you. Here we go. So these are also like black, white. Ooh, here we go. Black, white, grayscale. Okay. And as I mentioned, there are 3 so far in this series. And there's not as many illustrations in this one. And I'm trying to see if the illustrator is even mentioned. Let me see. Do we have an illustrator? That's the mystery. Yes. Paola Escobar. Okay. It's just great fun. This was a book that I found myself going through, and it was like hour and a half later I was done. I was like, ooh, this was fun. And so I highly recommend Pages and Company, the series, The Book Wanderers. Try the first one. See if you like it. And so let me show you both of them again. So Anna James's Pages and Company series, The Book Wanderers, is the very first one in the series, and there's 3 so far. And then, of course, Heather Kassner's The Bone Garden. I got stuck on books. And this will give you a little spook factor. Both are fantasies, which I'm a fan of, and I'll be doing like a high fantasy book talk later. Highly recommend both of these books. I think they're great fun, and I don't really put an age limit on enjoyment. So even though it's intended for middle school, totally acceptable, even upper elementary, depending on the reader. I still think that they're just delicious reads, and go for it. Have a good time depending on what your mood is. So until next time, I wish you as always good health and happy reading.